Hello everyone. This is my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to each one of you gathered here today. We are honored to have Mr. Ashish Gupta sir with us, a seasoned professional in financial industry and the one who don't need any introduction. Today's speaker has been with Axis Mutual Fund as a CIO. Over 14 years of experience in this area of business development in mutual fund and wealth management. As we engage in this insightful session with Mr. Ashish Gupta sir, let us seize the opportunity to gain the valuable knowledge and perspective on the ever-evolving world of mutual funds. Without a further ado, please join me in the welcoming Mr. Ashish Gupta sir. Thank you, and do show a clapping sign on the Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karshit, for the nice introduction. And to be very honest, I know Ashish sir since now when he joined Axis, and now he has been transformed the entire Axis, the way Axis was working, and now the Axis is working all to the different stuffs, and the entire thought process he parked into the Axis. So thank you very much. And the result is last 1 year the Axis is doing amazingly great. With this, sir, पहला question मेरा and thank you very much, sir, for sparing your time. आपका प्रोफाइल बहुत बड़ा है, मतलब आपने 2008 का क्राइसिस प्रेडिक्ट किया था और बहुत कुछ तमगे आपके नाम के साथ लगे हुए हैं जो अभी मैं उसमें इंट्रोडक्शन में नहीं डालूंगा, बट that is how actually I know about you. So coming to the first question, sir, market is all time high. Congratulations to each one of you. Market has already crossed the 80,000 level. 80,357 is going on, and the congratulations to the entire fraternity also to all of us. Sir, first question, the people are thinking, अरे यार ये बहुत पैसा बन गया है, 30-40% तो अभी पोर्टफोलियो ऑफलोड कर डालते हैं, करना क्या है?
I think it is always good to be pragmatic and prudent. Every investor has to think of the long term, right? I think my learning over the last 30 years, looking at market, looking at financial sector, is कि short term move predict करने बहुत मुश्किल होते हैं. Long term outlook रखेंगे तो एक्सपेक्टेशंस जनरली मीट होते हैं, फोरकास्ट लॉन्गर टर्म फोरकास्ट करेक्ट होते हैं, शॉर्टर टर्म फोरकास्ट में प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ बीइंग करेक्ट इज एक्चुअली लोअर. दैट इज माय पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस. And I think investors, whether they came in, if they came in 6 months ago, my answer was that come into the market only with a multi-year expectation. Please don't look at the market, try to time the market for 3-6 months. Kabhi it proves correct. For example, अगर आपको जनवरी में पता होता कि बीजेपी को क्लियर मेजॉरिटी नहीं मिलेगी, राइट, और आपका फोरकास्ट ठीक भी होता, तब आप मार्केट में पैसा डालते या मार्केट से पैसा निकालते, राइट? तो मोस्ट ऑफ अस वुड हैव सेड कि नहीं, अगर बीजेपी को क्लियर मेजॉरिटी नहीं मिलेगी तो मार्केट करेक्ट होगी तो हम मार्केट से पैसा. बट इलेक्शन रिजल्ट आए, उसके बाद भी मार्केट लास्ट मंथ में ऑलमोस्ट 7% मार्केट ऊपर गई है. तो आई थिंक हमको अपना लॉन्ग टर्म व्यू रखना चाहिए, लॉन्ग टर्म कन्विक्शन रखनी चाहिए कि व्हाट आर वी प्लेइंग फॉर. हमको ये लग रहा है कि क्लियरली इंडिया की ग्रोथ स्टोरी अच्छी चल रही है. उसके एक्सपेक्टेशन अगले 4-5 साल में 8% ग्रोथ के ऊपर रहने के हैं. इंटरेस्ट रेट इंडिया में मॉडरेट है, ग्लोबली इंटरेस्ट रेट यहाँ से कम ही होंगे, बढ़ेंगे नहीं. तो लॉन्ग टर्म आउटलुक इक्विटी की अच्छी है. लेकिन हमको ये भी ध्यान रखना है कि मार्केट अभी सस्ती नहीं है. मार्केट के वैल्यूएशन बहुत ज्यादा है, पर्टिकुलरली मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप साइड में ज्यादा है. तो हमको पोर्टफोलियो का बैलेंस रखना पड़ेगा. हाई बीटा काम कर रहा है, मोमेंटम हैज बीन वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग. सो मोमेंटम एज अ स्ट्रेटजी has worked very well for last 12 months. And particularly in last 1 month, momentum as a strategy has delivered the best result. But these strategies will keep rotating, right? So one should not really just chase return. एंड जैसे हम म्यूचुअल फंड में बोलते हैं, डोंट लेट पास्ट रिटर्न बी अ गारंटी फॉर फ्यूचर रिटर्न। सो लास्ट महीने में मार्केट 7% बढ़ा है, तो प्लीज डोंट एक्सपेक्ट कि मार्केट अगले महीने भी 5% भी बढ़ेगा। और तो वी हैव टू मॉडरेट आवर एक्सपेक्टेशन, because lot of good news is now in the price.
Right.
And yes, it is true that today domestic investors are investing more and more into equities, both
Right.
direct into equities and through mutual funds,
Right.
which will keep valuations higher.
Right.
And FIIs are actually underweight India. So that is a very good construct. But I will actually, my submission to people is that
Right.
next 12 months return will be clearly lower than the last 12 months return. So please come into the market with that expectation that you are coming in for the longer term. Last 12 months return, in my view, will not be repeated over the next 12 months.
All right. Sir, my next question is, sir, what is the market valuation at this point of time? मतलब आपने already बोल दिया कि एक साल में तो पैसा नहीं मिलेगा, but then again to understand कि बाजार सस्ता है, महंगा है, moderate है, STP करना है, या कुछ सेक्टर ऐसे है जहां पे पैसा डाला जा सकता है?
Sure. तो अगर आप मार्केट में देखें तो मार्केट का एवरेज मल्टीपल अभी तकरीबन 22-23 टाइम है। तो
Right.
ये मार्केट का पी मल्टीपल है।
Right.
मार्केट का लॉन्ग टर्म एवरेज मल्टीपल तकरीबन 16 टाइम है।
बराबर।
तो उससे ये तकरीबन 1-1.5 स्टैंडर्ड डिविएशन ज्यादा है।
Right.
And but that does not tell you the complete story, right? Because within that, stocks are spread over a very wide range, right? And अगर हम मार्केट का मल्टीपल देखें, अगर हम मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप का मल्टीपल देखें तो वो ऑलमोस्ट 30 टाइम के करीब है, राइट? सो मार्केट का एवरेज मल्टीपल 23 है, बट देयर आर मिड स्मॉल कैप का मल्टीपल इज क्लोज टू 30 टाइम। The other important factor is that 23 is the average multiple. Today there are almost 115 stocks in NSE 500 जिनका multiple 50 से ऊपर है। And I talked about कि lot of growth is priced into the market. तो अगर मैं कंपनियां देखूं जिनकी forecasted earnings growth 20% से ज्यादा है, तो मैंने टोटल मार्केट को 3 बकेट में डिवाइड किया। कंपनी जिनकी ग्रोथ 20% से ज्यादा एस्टिमेटेड है, कंपनी जिनकी ग्रोथ 10 से 20% में एस्टिमेटेड है, और कंपनी जिनकी ग्रोथ 10% से कम एस्टिमेटेड है। तो 20% से ज्यादा जो कंपनी एक्सपेक्टेड टू ग्रो है, उनका मल्टीपल आज ऑलमोस्ट 35 टाइम है। तो मार्केट का मल्टीपल 23 टाइम है, बट उनका मल्टीपल 35 टाइम। और जो 10 से 20% वाली ग्रोथ कंपनीज है, उनका मल्टीपल 28 टाइम है। और लेस देन 10% ग्रोथ वाली कंपनी का मल्टीपल तकरीबन 19-20 टाइम है। तो मार्केट इज एट 23 टाइम्स अर्निंग, बट उसमें देयर इज अ वाइड रेंज। सो कई स्टॉक काफी महंगे हैं, बट वो महंगे इसलिए हैं क्योंकि ग्रो कर रहे हैं। बट जैसे मैंने कहा कि उनकी ग्रोथ ऐसी नहीं है कि एक साल की ग्रोथ जस्टिफाइज 35-40 टाइम्स अर्निंग्स, राइट? सो वी हैव टू बी कॉन्फिडेंट दैट दे विल बी ग्रोइंग फॉर मल्टीपल ईयर्स। एंड thankfully, and the reason I'm not saying that there is valuations are too expensive and expect negative returns in the market, is the growth outlook is very strong, right? And unlike the past, जैसे आपने पहले एक दो क्राइसिस की बात करी, 2008 की बात करी, ऐसे ही 2010-15 में बैंकिंग सेक्टर की क्राइसिस थी, वैसा सिचुएशन
वो भी आपने प्रेडिक्ट की थी।
तो वैसा सिचुएशन इकोनॉमी में नहीं है। इकोनॉमी के मैक्रो बहुत स्टेबल है,
हाँ
अगर हम कंपनियों की लेवरेज देखें, कंपनियों की बैलेंस शीट में डेट देखें, सो दैट इज एट अ 30-year लो।
राइट
अगर बैंकों के एनपीए देखें, वो भी इस लेवल में, आपने देखा होगा नेट एनपीए बैंकिंग सेक्टर के इज नाउ barely 0.5%.
0.5%. My God, never before.
Net NPA, yes.
Amazing.
So जो मैक्रो है वो बहुत स्टेबल
Right.
एंड देयरफॉर वी कैन बी कॉन्फिडेंट कि ये ग्रोथ सस्टेन कर सकती है।
Right.
अगर आप इंडियन इकोनॉमी के फंडामेंटल्स भी देखें, इन्फ्लेशन हैज कंसिस्टेंटली बीन मॉडेस्ट, fiscal deficit has been in check, गवर्नमेंट का टैक्स टू जीडीपी रेशियो बढ़ गया है। I think after election results there are a lot of questions कि गवर्नमेंट का फोकस शिफ्ट होगा, नेक्स्ट मंथ बजट है, बट उसमें we need not be too worried because गवर्नमेंट की रेवेन्यू बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग चल रहा है। तो टैक्स ग्रोथ अच्छी है। आपने पढ़ा होगा कि आरबीआई ने इस बार गवर्नमेंट को 2 लाख करोड़ डिविडेंड दिया। तो the government has the money to spend, whether on capex or consumption. And the third part, which is good on the macro front, is the external account. तो हमने देखा कि ग्लोबली इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़े, बट इंडिया डिड नॉट हैव टू रियली रेज इंटरेस्ट रेट्स दैट मच।
राइट,
इंडिया ने भी इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ाया, बट यूएस ने ऑलमोस्ट इंटरेस्ट रेट 5% बढ़ाई। इंडिया डिड नॉट हैव टू फॉलो सूट, एंड डिस्पाइट ग्लोबल इंटरेस्ट रेट्स बीइंग हाई, despite some amount of foreign selling in the market, हमारे foreign reserves have kept on increasing. So today our foreign reserves, as you know, are over $640 billion, right? And you would have seen last quarter we actually had a current account surplus. So that actually helps us to be very comfortable on the macro front, that companies are okay, the government balance sheet is okay, country's balance sheet with the external world is okay. So that stability is certainly there.
So the household balance sheet, government balance sheet, banking balance sheet and the corporate balance sheet, all balance sheets are perfectly, चारों खंबे एकदम मजबूत है। जितनी चाहे बड़ी बिल्डिंग खड़ी करनी है बिल्कुल खड़ी कर सकते हैं। भारत की बिल्डिंग को अभी, भारत के स्काई स्क्रैपर को कोई रोक नहीं सकता अभी। इन शॉर्ट इन दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट। सो कमिंग टू द वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन, अभी आप लोगों ने निफ्टी का, बैंक निफ्टी का इंडेक्स फंड लाया था, तो इसका मतलब ये है शायद कि बैंकिंग में आप बहुत कुछ स्टोरी देख रहे हो। आई वुड लव टू इफ यू कैन जस्ट थ्रो सम लाइट ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर स्टोरी एंड इवन द सेगमेंट्स जो आपको अभी चीप लग रहे हैं, बिकॉज बाजार ऑल टाइम हाई है, लेकिन अभी प्रॉब्लम है कि आईटी, फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, फार्मा, एफएमसीजी और 2-3 सेगमेंट जो है इंक्लूडिंग प्राइवेट बैंक एंड पब्लिक बैंक, ये तो अभी भी चीप है। तो बाजार जाएगा कहां फाइनली? So which are the segment where the people really need to look into the things in a very very different fashion?
तो आपने बिल्कुल ठीक हाईलाइट किया कि 3-4 सेक्टर हैं जो अंडर परफॉर्म की हैं ओवर द लास्ट 1 ईयर। आईटी सेक्टर, बैंकिंग सेक्टर, एफएमसीजी और मोर ब्रॉडली कंजम्पशन एंड हेल्थ केयर। इसमें से मेरा मानना है कि जो कॉन्फिडेंस जहाँ पे मुझे ज्यादा दिखता है वो डोमेस्टिक डिमांड ओरिएंटेड सेक्टर में। तो इन 4 सेक्टर में से अगर आप 2 देखें, हेल्थ केयर, बिकॉज मोस्ट फार्मा कंपनीज के एक्सपोर्ट्स इज टू द यूएस मार्केट, एंड IT services again is really dependent on external demand. तो इस चीज के क्या ग्रोथ होगी? Will there be any upside surprise to the growth numbers? That confidence I don't have today, right? I think where one can have confidence, based on what all we spoke about macro stability growth, कि इंडिया की डिमांड, चाहे कंजम्पशन हो चाहे फाइनेंशियल सर्विस, that has to come back, right? And I think that was the thought process behind coming out with the bank index product. that market has ignored this sector for a long time. As we spoke about, the balance sheet of these banks is better than it has been ever before.
Right.
It is a play on growth in any part of the economy, चाहे पावर सेक्टर की ग्रोथ हो, चाहे कैपेक्स की ग्रोथ हो, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की ग्रोथ हो, कंज्यूमर ड्यूरेबल्स की ग्रोथ हो. So banks and financial services participate in that. Right? So I think that is what is exciting. And here, जैसे आपने बोला, private banks are much cheaper compared to their history. And of course, public sector banks are also now participating in this growth compared to the last 10 years. But on a relative valuation, private banks are at a big discount to where they have traded in the history compared to the rest of the sector. The second part, which we are watching much more closely, is the consumption sector. Right? And as has been talked about, that this sector has not really participated in India's economic growth, or not driven the economic growth in the last 4 years, particularly post-COVID, as it has in the past. Consumption may only high-end consumption has participated in the growth. But I think the underlying structural drivers of consumption, like demographics, always will mean that this is a structural story. And you will see the cycle play out. I don't have visibility. ऐसा अभी June quarter के result में भी ऐसा लग नहीं रहा कि FMCG companies का major turnaround आएगा. But if we are more forward looking, we can expect whether in 3 months, 6 months, you will see pickup in consumption as well. If there is any increased focus by the government into this sector, as is expected in the budget, that will accelerate the recovery. So of the 4 sectors, net I'll say banking and followed by consumption is what you should watch.
Right. सर थैंक यू वेरी मच. ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, बिकॉज बहुत सारे लोग इवन स्टॉक में भी काम करते हैं, उनको सेगमेंट चाहिए होता है कि ठीक है भाई क्या सेगमेंट अच्छा रहेगा. सर कमिंग टू द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन नाउ, द बिगेस्ट इवेंट ऑफ द एंटायर ईयर has been done, called as the election, and everybody come across the outcome, and now the people are comfortable. अरे यार फाइनली ठीक है भाई, सब कुछ हो गया, अभी अभी आगे क्या. तो now there is no event as such, but the another event which is coming as called as a budget. So what is your budget expectation, and how do you feel कि आंटी क्या करेगी, आंटी कोई सरप्राइज देगी या थोड़ी रेवड़ियां बांटेगी, and how actually the things you are expecting, because I'm sure that when the budget meeting is getting prepared, you people are all are invited there to meet with the finance minister. So just throw some light if we can on this budget expectations.
I think as I mentioned earlier, the good thing is that this time the budget is not being prepared in too many constraints, right? आपका घर का भी बजट अगर आप बनाते हो, चैलेंज तब आता है जब इनकम की तंगी हो.
पैसा नहीं है और बजट बनाना है. पैसा बहुत है, बजट तो एकदम तूफान बनाएंगे.
So that is the happy situation I think the government is today in. I think as I mentioned, tax to GDP, even non-tax revenues like RBI dividend mean that they have ability to spend. In fact, my thought process is slightly different, that will the government be able to increase the expenditure as much as it is needed, and are they able to spend it? Because you see, a lot of government programs all run through bureaucratic processes, right? So even to spend money is not easy for the government. So you can announce plans, but really spending that money is the key. And today, one of the reasons we see tight liquidity in the market is because government has almost 4 lakh crores of excess cash sitting in, right? typically first quarter में government is actually borrowing from the starts borrowing from the market, but today actually government is sitting with excess cash, and आपने देखा होगा कि banking sector has a liquidity deficit, and the main reason for that is that government has a very large cash balance. So I think what we need to watch out for is what are government expenditure plans, and are they realistic, that will the government be able to spend that money, because they have good amount of revenues that is coming to them. The second thing which of course everyone will watch is how do they stay on the to fiscal consolidation. Again, I don't expect any negative surprise there because they have the ability to spend. So they should be on the path to fiscal consolidation.
So great. And sir, my next question is, what is the key risk which you are expecting from the market? Because बाजार में क्या होता है, जब all time high लगता है, that is fine, but वो टूटता तब है जब कोई news पता नहीं होती है और वो all of a sudden आ जाती है. तो what is your key risk or strategies or thought process regarding the unknown may come kind of?
Yes. So actually, unfortunately, unknown is unknown, right? And as you really said, the big correction comes when it is most unexpected.
Right.
And if you see, if some event is expected, some risk is expected, it gets sort of priced into the market, right?
Right.
I don't have visibility. I think one risk can be that globally rates are expected to come down.
Right.
And instead of that, if they again global inflation moves up and global central banks have to increase rates, that can be one risk. Second risk, and again हमने अपनी election तो देख ली. अभी I think another major election is there this year, which is the US election. And if there is a change in government, what will be the change in policies? There have been indication that global trade war will be may get accelerated if the change in the government in the US. So that is potentially a big risk. Again, we don't know what way it will change. If US policy toward China becomes even more aggressive, it might even actually benefit India. But I think US election is another big risk that we need to watch out for. The third risk I would, again, coming from the global side, is on global currencies. We have seen the Japanese yen depreciating very considerably over the past 1 year. That is hurting exports. So is there potentially some move by Japan to increase rates, or other central their currency? So that can potentially bring some pressure even on Indian currency. So these are 2-3 global risks that we need to watch out for.
That's right. So last almost 25 minutes, you throw a lot of line that there is no hanky-panky, बाजार में बहुत valuation अच्छे है. You said that the market is not cheap, even not expensive. One can really think to really invest the money out of it at this point of time. You speak about the banking, consumption, private banks, and even the consumer durables. Consumption is the one thing which the people can really look into it. Risk की भी आपने बात करी, आपने budget expectation की भी बात करी. I believe a lot of insight the people are getting out of it to really speak on while they're interacting with their clients also, and my HNI clients as well. Now with this, मैं पूरा floor जो है वो Q&A के लिए open करता हूँ. Anybody is having the question, you please ask the sir, because sir वैसे भी मिलते नहीं है, हमको ही बहुत मुश्किल से मिलते हैं. So किसी का भी कोई question है तो please आप आज पूछ सकते हैं. Thank you. What about the gold rates? The first question came, sir.
I think clearly, but we are seeing globally a lot of currencies which were used to be literally the gold standard, like the dollar. There are question marks on it, right? Because one of the reasons US growth has held up is US has expanded its fiscal deficit. So US fiscal deficit 7% पे चल रहा है, US government debt is increasing. So I think there is clearly move for people to go towards assets which hold value, and gold comes on top. We are seeing central banks from India to China also adding gold to their reserves. So I think outlook for gold continues to be good. I don't have any specific target for it. Unfortunately, uh, all our financial models are built on cash flows. So any target price for any company, any market is basically using cash flows. And gold is an asset that does not have cash flow, right? It just has value. So I do think value of gold will hold and appreciate, but don't have a target price.
सर एक ना क्वेश्चन ये गोल्ड को रिलेटेड है। अब ये बहुत लोगों के दिमाग में भी होगा, कुछ लोगों ने सोशल मीडिया में कुछ पढ़ा होगा तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं पढ़ा होगा तो आपके माध्यम से हम सब लोगों को थोड़ा गोल्ड के बारे में पता चल जाएगा। तो बीच में गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने काफी सारा गोल्ड जो है वो यूरोप से वापस बुलाया। At the same time, even the same thing has been happened done by the China also. So now the China has had the big vaults and all the vaults has been done. अब सारे भर चुके हैं और मोटा मोटा 3,000 टन का गोल्ड जो है चाइना जो दूसरों की ट्रेजरी, दूसरों की वॉल्ट में रखा था, वो अपने वॉल्ट वहां पे बना के लेके आ रहे हैं। तो मैं थोड़ा इसका सिग्निफिकेंस समझना चाहता हूँ कि व्हाट इज द रीजन व्हाई द गवर्नमेंट्स आर डूइंग लाइक दिस? आर दे लुकिंग फॉर सम अदर रिस्क?
So I think one thing that happened 2 years ago after the Ukraine-Russia war,
Right.
Russia lost all their reserves
Oh
because
my God.
Russian reserves were in dollar and were kept outside the country. So when sanctions were put, those got confiscated.
Right.
So I think that we are seeing many central banks act that. So in fact, one of the reasons many central banks have actually diversified away from dollar assets, not just gold in their own world, but if they were holding dollar assets, it is because they don't want to be at the risk that if US tomorrow decides that for whatever reason that I will impose sanctions. So if your assets are in dollar, that means they actually control it directly or indirectly.
तो मतलब कि अगर मान के चलिए कि कल इंडिया पे सैंक्शन लग गया और हमारे पास अगर हमारा जो गोल्ड है वो लंदन के वॉल्ट में रखा हुआ है, बेटर है हम हमारा गोल्ड हमारे वॉल्ट में रखें। हमको जब चाहिए किसी और दूसरे कंट्री से जिनके साथ हमारा जमता है उनके साथ वो पैसे ले ले और समहाउ हम हमारी करेंसी को प्रोटेक्ट करके रखें। बिकॉज इन्होंने तो अभी वो भी बोल दिया ना कि रशिया का जितना रिजर्व है वो हम पूरा उठा के जो है वो उसको उनको दे देंगे, यूक्रेन को दे देंगे ताकि उनकी नई कंट्री वापस से बिल्ड हो जाए।
Yes.
So that is a risk, and that is how actually the Indian government is managing the risk out of it by taking the gold outside, which was there in the vault of other countries years together. Now, so another question is basically this is the question of Mr. 𝐸𝐤𝐻. What is the impact expected on the Indian economy of CBCT and the digitization of the Indian rupee?
Okay. So I think he meant CBDC. Which is the central bank digital currency. So, see, the digital currencies were proposed by the central bank when Bitcoin, etc., cryptocurrencies came in. These cryptocurrencies were unregulated.
Right.
Their issuers were unknown.
Right.
So, for people wanting digital currencies, so the central bank said that I will myself issue a digital currency, and unlike crypto where the value is very volatile, आपने देखा होगा crypto moves 50% plus minus within a year, if not more.
Sir, one day rather I would
how
say.
can
1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 30%, 40% up and down. क्या लगा रखा है?
So yeah, so that is something no one can build as basis for the stable currency.
Right.
So central banks launched these digital currencies.
Right.
I frankly don't see much of impact for this, particularly for India, because India already has gone much ahead in terms of digitization of payments through UPI. Right? And purpose of digital currency is that you want to digitize payments, right? And India, आपने देखा ही होगा, every month there are now lakhs of crores of digital payment transactions happening.
Right.
And given the success of UPI, I don't see CBDC to be a major game changer.
Right. Okay. So another question by the Mr. Nilesh is, what should be an ideal investment strategy for an investor who is seeking good capital appreciation with the minimum time horizon of 10 to 11 year of lump sum investment at current time?
So I think if you have a long-term time horizon, I think at this point of time, do a flexi cap or the multi-cap fund. I believe that, as I mentioned, that today, while growth is there, in certain pockets, valuations are not there. So, if the fund manager has flexibility to pick and choose stocks where the growth and the valuation paradigm is most favorable across market caps, I think that is the best situation. So I would recommend flexi cap or multi-cap funds for long-term horizon.
That's it. So thank you very much. Anyone else is having a question? If someone wants to lump sum right now, what will be the great option? Already sir ने बताया मिलन भाई कि flexi cap and you can say multi cap is the great option at this point of time. सर एक आपके पास बहुत अच्छा फंड है और somehow मैं उसका बहुत फैन भी हूँ, to be very honest. अच्छा हुआ कि ये क्वेश्चन नीलेश भाई ने पूछा, तो नीलेश भाई नहीं अपना मिलिंद साहब ने पूछा, तो मैं भी उसको कनेक्ट कर देता हूँ. The Axis Business Cycle Fund. How you narrate this business cycle concept to my all audience so that they can really come across with something great and new.
Yeah. So I think one thing we clearly see is that most of the earnings growth comes from when a business goes from a downturn to upturn.
Right.
Right. And that is when also actually you see a valuation re-rating, right?
Right.
आप पिछले 3-4 साल में देखिए, for example, real estate companies, when they were in down cycle, what was the valuation and what the valuation is now,
Right.
आप power company देखिए, defense companies देखिए,
Defense
right?
तो क्या माशाल्लाह.
Right. So the cycle has to come. So when cycle comes in favor, you actually make a lot of return. And even today, many of these power and defense stocks are companies where you will have high confidence that they will be able to grow earnings at 25%, right? We like private banks, but today, do I have the confidence that these private banks will grow earnings 25%? The answer is no, right? They'll grow earnings 15-18%, right? So when cycle is in favor, the earnings growth is actually the maximum, right? But I can say that private banks, I can be confident that they will continue to grow at 15-20% for 10 years. Power and defense, will they grow at 25% for 10 years? The answer is no. Maybe they will have this high growth rate for 2 years, 3 years, then it will moderate as excess capacity builds up, right? So business cycle tries to capture this, that you try to capture higher growth.
Great. So thank you very much. Anyone else is having a question? All right. So, sir, thank you very much. It was great indeed, amazing time with you. You throw a lot of light on the a lot of tasks and a lot of aspects of the Indian economy, including the market and the segments and the sectors also, including few of the questions that the audience has been asked. Once again, many thanks to you and sparing your time. It is always indeed a great pleasure to have you on Imperial Money.
Always
Again,
good to
would
meet
love
you.
to again invite you for the personal seminar wherever you will be here in Nagpur. Sir, I would be more than happy to get interaction with you or a lot of my clients and partners.
I also look forward to it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Sir. Thanks a lot for sparing your time. And thank you very much everyone for sharing and joining today's con call. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Deep sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Satish sir.